Every day presents an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable than yesterday. By taking deliberate actions, mastering habits, and learning from every experience, you can transform ordinary routines into powerful stepping stones toward excellence. This channel delivers practical strategies, proven techniques, and actionable insights to help you improve consistently, achieve more with less effort, and build momentum that compounds over time. From productivity hacks to mindset mastery, every video equips you to turn knowledge into results. Subscribe now and unlock the tools to get better every single day, making progress inevitable and sustainable. Number 1. Track progress with daily reflection. Improvement is neither accidental nor mystical. It is the quiet accumulation of tiny, deliberate acts observed and corrected. When reflection becomes a daily habit, the fog around choices clears, momentum becomes visible, and decisions begin to align with real progress rather than wishful thinking. Tracking progress is not about tallying trophies or courting perfection. It is a disciplined conversation with yourself that privileges truth, responsibility, and tweakable actions. Adopt the posture of a craftsman inspecting work at the end of a day, close, honest, and focused on what can be adjusted tomorrow. Start by understanding what a daily reflection actually does. It turns experience into information. Actions without feedback loop scatter energy. Actions with feedback loop compound. The most common mistake is treating reflection as a moral inventory. I was good today, or I failed, instead of a practical diagnostic. Good reflection isolates cause and effect. It separates emotion from evidence. It asks the single useful question, what next? The Stoic mind trains itself to observe events without surrender to the immediate feelings they provoke, then chooses the constructive response. A nightly reflection is a short, controlled rehearsal of that practice. Create a simple format that can be completed even on the busiest nights. Complexity kills consistency. Use 5 lines each evening. 1. One clear win. 2. One mistake or friction. 3. One measurable data point. Time count. Pages, minutes. 4. One precise adjustment for tomorrow. 5. One gratitude or strength noticed. Example entry: win, wrote 800 words. Friction, distracted during research. Data, 90 minutes writing, 40 minutes researching. Adjustment, research scheduled in morning, research tab closed during writing block. Strength, persistence when tired. These 5 lines take 2 to 5 minutes and anchor learning. The win keeps motivation honest. The mistake keeps improvement humble. The data converts story into pattern. The adjustment converts insight into action. The strength reminds the mind of usable resources. Choose a small set of metrics that matter and are easy to measure. More than 3 numbers dilutes focus. Pick metrics tied to real outcomes. Minutes practiced, pages written, calls made, kilometers run, calories prepared at home, hours of sleep, or streaks of focused work. Numbers are not the enemy. They are neutral signals that show whether effort is approaching the target. For creative work, track inputs, hours of deliberate practice, words produced rather than flattering outputs, instant success. For personal growth, include subjective metrics like mood, energy, or clarity on a simple 1 to 5 scale. These let you spot trends tied to sleep, food, or stress. Develop 2 tiers of reflection, micro and macro. The micro reflection is nightly, quick scan, 5-line entry, 1 adjustment. The macro reflection is weekly, 30 minutes to an hour, where patterns are synthesized and larger choices are made. During the weekly session, review the nightly notes, plot the metrics on a simple grid or spreadsheet, ask whether experiments are moving the needle, and decide on one 7-day experiment to run. The weekly habit turns incremental nightly corrections into strategic shifts. If the nightly adjustment is a new morning habit, the weekly review judges whether that habit stuck and produced the intended effect. Use purposeful prompts to avoid vague summaries. Prompts replace vague judgment with clear observation. Try these each night. What did I control today? What did I avoid? Where was fear or avoidance visible? What did I learn about my limits? What one small change will produce the clearest improvement tomorrow? The Stoic lens asks, which parts of today were within influence, and how was that influence used? This moves reflection from rumination to responsibility. Make the environment supportive for honest reflection. A dim lamp, a pen that feels right in the hand, a single sheet of paper or a minimal digital note. These details matter because ritual reduces resistance. The sound of pen on paper, the smell of tea, the brief pause before writing. These sensory anchors signal to the brain that the day's work is being accounted for. If the scene is rushed, the reflection will be too. Allocate a non-negotiable 5 to 10 minutes before bed. During this time, silence devices, breathe and write. The consistency of the ritual builds trust with yourself. Translate reflection into experiments. Each adjustment recorded should be testable. Avoid vague declarations that provide emotional release, but no behavioral change. Replace "I will stop procrastinating" with "tomorrow." Start work at 8:30 with a 45-minute Pomodoro, and block social apps. The testable adjustment has a time, a trigger, and a measurable outcome. Run it for at least 5 consecutive days. Track whether the change moved the metric. If it did, keep it or scale it. If it did not, analyze why and design a new experiment. Think like an engineer iterating on a prototype rather than a perfectionist hunting for immediate transformation. Invite objective feedback into the loop. Self-reflection is necessary, but not always sufficient. External mirrors can reveal blind spots. Once a week, share a concise version of your reflection with a trusted peer, coach, or mentor, asking for one question and one suggestion. The request should be specific. I tracked focus minutes this week. I dropped from 90 to 60. What could I tighten? External observers often notice weak assumptions or provide rude adjustments that are invisible from inside the system. Keep feedback short, actionable, and transactional. Guard against perfectionism and dishonesty. The most dangerous habit is adjusting the measurement to feel better without changing behavior. If a metric is inconveniently low, do not redefine success. Change the process that increases the metric. Stoic practice demands honest inventory. Write the embarrassments as plainly as the successes. The pen is a neutral judge. Over time, repeated honesty diminishes ego-protective storytelling and replaces it with practical competence. Schedule an end-of-month synthesis where 3 questions are answered in writing. 1. What consistently worked? 2. What consistently failed? 3. What will be the single focus next month? This synthesis is the refining knife that turns many small adjustments into coherent direction. It forces prioritization. If 2 things produced most progress, keep the stronger one and relegate the weaker to secondary experiments. Discipline thrives under constraints. Too many priorities scatter force. Use visual cues to keep the feedback loop salient during the day. A simple checklist near the workstation, a calendar streak, or a chart with daily bars makes trends obvious without requiring memory. Human brains prefer pattern recognition. When the barrier to seeing progress is low, motivation follows. For example, a hand-drawn chart of daily focused minutes taped to the wall becomes a quiet, ever-present accountability partner. The physicality of the mark, an X, a filled square, a dot, leverages the primitive satisfaction of completion. Balance rigor with compassion. Daily reflection must be honest, not cruel. Stoicism emphasizes endurance and clarity, not self-flagellation. When failures appear, treat them as data. Name the error, own the part that was controllable, and outline the smallest next step forward. A recurring mistake often points toward a structural problem, not a character flaw. Perhaps energy drops mid-afternoon because of nutrition. Solve the structural problem, rather than wishing for different willpower. Self-kindness keeps the loop running. Harshness breaks it. Create a short morning ritual that uses the nightly reflection. The reflection should not remain a retrospect. It must inform the morning's plan. Each morning, review the previous night's one adjustment and write a simple intention. Today I will start focused work at 9:00 for 6. If distracted, return immediately and set a 5-minute reset. This small bridge between evening insight and morning action closes the loop. It moves knowledge into behavior. Finally, begin with 1 metric and 1 daily ritual tonight. Too much change guarantees none. Adopt a 5-line nightly entry Pick a single metric relevant to your main objective and commit to 5 consecutive nights. After 5 nights, add a weekly review. After a month, synthesize and narrow priorities. Improvement happens in the margin between days when attention is given and days when it is not. Daily reflection makes that margin visible and actionable. It trains the mind to notice patterns, to own influence, and to convert intention into skill. Over time, the small nightly acts add up into a life that steadily tilts toward mastery. Start with a truthful pen, a clear metric, and the humility to change tomorrow based on what tonight reveals. Number 2, set micro goals for improvement. Improvement is rarely achieved through monumental leaps. The human mind is wired to resist abrupt change, to seek comfort in what it already knows, and to avoid the unfamiliar. Yet growth is inevitable when change is structured in manageable increments. Micro goals act as the bridge between desire and achievement. They are precise, measurable, and attainable steps that guide attention, sharpen focus, and sustain momentum. They transform vague aspirations into actionable tasks, making progress tangible and maintaining motivation even on days when energy falters. To get better every single day, it is essential to master the art of breaking ambition into the smallest practical unit. Micro goals begin with clarity about the larger purpose. Every tiny goal should connect to a broader vision, whether it's improving health, enhancing skills, or achieving professional mastery. The danger of unstructured effort is the illusion of productivity. Busy days that feel meaningful but produce little lasting impact. Micro goals prevent this by creating a continuous feedback loop. They are small enough to complete consistently, yet meaningful enough that when accumulated, they drive substantial improvement. For example, if learning a language is the ultimate target, a micro goal might be learning 5 new words a day or practicing pronunciation for 10 minutes. These actions are achievable, measurable, and immediately satisfying. Yet over time, they accumulate into profound progress. The power of micro goals lies in their precision. Ambiguity is the enemy of consistent progress. A goal such as get better at writing is abstract and offers little direction. A micro goal translates it into a concrete task. Write 200 words today, focusing only on dialogue. The specificity removes hesitation and excuses. When the next action is clearly defined, resistance diminishes. The human brain craves clarity. Providing it a specific target focuses mental energy and prevents the scattered, unfocused effort that often masquerades as productivity. Each completed micro goal delivers a tiny victory that reinforces the habit of action, creating a psychological cycle of momentum. Consistency is far more powerful than intensity. Long-term improvement does not come from sporadic bursts of effort, but from daily, incremental advancement. Micro goals are the scaffolding that supports this consistency. They are small enough that they can be achieved even on low-energy days, preventing stagnation. A single micro goal accomplished each day compounds over weeks and months into significant skill development or habit formation. The brain responds to repeated successful actions by creating neural pathways that solidify skills. Each micro goal, no matter how small, contributes to a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. It is the slow drip of effort that carves lasting change. To make micro goals effective, break them into measurable components. If your aim is to improve physical fitness, exercise more is insufficient. Instead, define the micro goal. Perform 15 push-ups in the morning, or walk 3,000 steps before lunch. Each target must have a clear endpoint that signals completion. Measurement is essential because it converts abstract intention into observable results. The sense of accomplishment from hitting a defined target fuels the motivation necessary to pursue the next goal. Over time, these small measurable wins accumulate, creating visible proof of progress and sustaining a positive feedback loop that makes improvement addictive. Micro goals also combat procrastination. Large, intimidating goals trigger avoidance. The mind perceives them as insurmountable. Micro goals sidestep this by lowering the barrier to entry. The smaller the action, the less friction exists to begin it. Writing 1 paragraph, practicing a single skill, or organizing 1 section of a workspace requires minimal resistance. Once started, momentum often carries further effort, turning the small task into extended productivity. The initial friction is the hardest part. Micro goals reduce it to a level where starting becomes automatic, transforming resistance from a barrier into a stepping stone. Every micro goal should include an accountability mechanism. Tracking progress enhances motivation and provides critical feedback. Simple tracking can be as straightforward as a checklist, journal entry, or progress chart. Visualizing the accumulation of completed micro goals triggers a powerful psychological response. It transforms effort into visible proof, reinforcing the habit loop. When a goal is completed and observed, the brain releases dopamine, cementing the behavior and making it more likely to recur. Without tracking, small victories are easily forgotten, diminishing their motivational impact. The process of adjusting micro goals is essential for continuous improvement. Initial targets may be too easy or too difficult. Reflection and adaptation ensure that goals remain challenging enough to stimulate growth, but not so daunting that they create frustration. For example, if a goal to read 10 pages per day becomes effortless, increase it to 15. Conversely, if the target is consistently missed, scale it down until it becomes attainable. This iterative adjustment keeps the process dynamic and ensures that micro goals remain aligned with both capability and ambition. Micro goals cultivate discipline and focus. By narrowing attention to a single achievable task, they train the mind to prioritize, resist distraction, and complete what is necessary before moving to the next challenge. This focus builds self-confidence and resilience. Completing daily micro goals generates proof of competence, reinforcing the belief that progress is possible through deliberate action. Discipline is developed through repetition, and micro goals provide the structured repetition necessary to form unshakable habits. Each completed task becomes a small declaration of control over one's time, effort, and growth. Integration into daily routines is critical. Micro goals are most effective when tied to existing habits or consistent points in the day. Associating them with fixed anchors, morning routines, lunch breaks, or evening wind-downs reduces reliance on willpower. For instance, practicing a skill immediately after brushing teeth or reviewing vocabulary at the same time each day creates automaticity. When micro goals are seamlessly woven into daily life, they become non-negotiable steps rather than optional tasks. This repetition ensures continuity, reduces mental friction, and converts ambition into daily practice. Micro goals also serve as a buffer against failure and self-criticism. Large, ambitious objectives often induce discouragement when progress is slow or setbacks occur. Micro goals, by contrast, create a continuous series of attainable successes. Each small victory reinforces a sense of capability and diminishes the emotional weight of failure. Even on days when major progress seems absent, achieving a micro goal preserves momentum, maintains confidence, and reinforces the habit of action. Growth becomes a steady, predictable process rather than a volatile struggle between high expectations and human limitations. The long-term power of micro goals lies in cumulative compounding. One small goal completed today may appear insignificant, yet repeated daily, it becomes exponential. A single paragraph written every day turns into thousands of words. 10 minutes of focused practice accumulates into mastery over months. The compound effect works because each small action lays the foundation for the next. Micro goals transform the vague concept of getting better every day into tangible, observable progress. They turn aspiration into reality through consistent, measurable, and deliberate steps. Micro goals foster reflection and self-awareness. Because each is small and measurable, it is easier to evaluate success and adjust strategy. If a goal is met effortlessly, it may indicate underestimation of capability. If repeatedly missed, it signals the need for adaptation. The constant loop of action, feedback, and adjustment cultivates a growth-oriented mindset. By focusing on manageable tasks, the mind becomes attuned to progress, capable of spotting patterns, identifying strengths, and recognizing areas that require attention. Self-awareness becomes a natural byproduct of disciplined micro-goal practice. The discipline of setting micro-goals builds momentum that spills over into larger objectives. Small achievements produce a sense of progress that fuels ambition for more significant challenges. Over time, the accumulation of micro-goals prepares the mind and body to handle complex tasks with confidence. The daily habit of completing attainable objectives becomes a training ground for persistence, resilience, and focus. Success is no longer an abstract concept, but a lived experience that grows in intensity and significance as the daily practice continues. The essence of micro goals is not merely productivity, it is mastery of self. They cultivate patience, focus, and responsibility. They train the mind to act deliberately, resist distraction, and convert intention into tangible progress. Each micro goal accomplished reinforces the belief that improvement is under personal control. By committing to small, precise, and measurable actions every day, mastery is no longer a distant dream but a logical outcome of disciplined, intentional practice. Growth becomes a natural consequence of consistent effort and thoughtful strategy. Ultimately, the habit of setting micro goals transforms life from chaotic ambition into a structured path of steady improvement. Each day becomes an opportunity to act deliberately, learn from action, and adjust course intelligently. Micro goals convert overwhelming objectives into manageable steps, provide measurable proof of progress, and instill confidence that change is attainable. Through their practice, the mind develops clarity, focus, and resilience, and improvement becomes not a sporadic event, but the natural rhythm of daily life. Each micro goal is a seed. Day after day, those seeds grow into a life of mastery, achievement, and unshakable confidence. Number 3. Learn from failures. Adjust quickly. Failure is not the opposite of progress. It is the raw material from which mastery is forged. The moments when plans crumble, results fall short, or expectations collide with reality are the moments when real learning occurs. The human instinct is to avoid failure, to shy away from discomfort, or to cover mistakes with excuses. Yet, the people who improve relentlessly every day are those who greet setbacks as information rather than judgment. They examine what went wrong, extract precise lessons, and make immediate adjustments before the next attempt. Learning from failure is an active process, demanding honesty, swiftness, and courage. The first step is to remove the emotional noise from mistakes. Often failures provoke shame, anger, or disappointment, which cloud judgment and delay action. Treat the event as a neutral occurrence, a puzzle to solve rather than a verdict on worth or talent. This perspective shift allows observation without self-condemnation. Analyze what factors led to the result, decisions made, actions taken, preparation levels, timing, and external circumstances. Every failure contains multiple layers of information. The task is to distinguish between factors within your control and those outside it, and to focus energy entirely on what can be influenced next. Timeliness in response is crucial. Waiting days or weeks to reflect dulls the clarity of insight. Immediate analysis captures the experience while it is vivid, ensuring that details are not lost. Record observations in a journal or digital note state precisely what happened, what you did, what outcomes were produced, and how they differed from the intended result. The act of writing forces clarity of thought, reducing the tendency to rationalize or justify. Clarity enables practical decision-making. When the facts are clear, the adjustments can be equally precise. Understanding patterns is key. Isolated failures are instructive, but repeated mistakes reveal systemic issues. By identifying recurring themes and setbacks, one can pinpoint weaknesses in strategy, habit, or skill. Perhaps focus wanes during mid-afternoon, leading to careless errors. Maybe certain tasks are underestimated in terms of time or complexity. Each recurrence signals the need for a structural change rather than superficial fixes. Recognizing patterns transforms frustration into actionable intelligence, turning a series of missteps into a coherent roadmap for improvement. Small adjustments often yield larger results than drastic changes. Radical overhauls are tempting after failure, but they frequently create instability and confusion. Instead, adopt incremental corrections, shift a single routine, tweak a method, or refine a technique. The adjustment should be measurable and observable. For example, if a writing session yielded less output than planned due to distraction, the adjustment might be as simple as relocating to a quieter space or setting a timer for focused intervals. The speed of adjustment ensures the momentum of improvement is maintained, keeping failure as a fuel rather than a barrier. Embrace experimentation as part of the learning process. Each adjustment is a hypothesis, a test of whether a small, targeted change improves outcomes. Approach failure scientifically. Isolate variables, implement changes, observe results, and refine again. This methodical approach reduces fear, converts trial and error into a structured system, and produces reliable insights. Each experiment, regardless of immediate success, accumulates knowledge. Over time, these incremental trials compound into mastery, revealing which strategies consistently produce results under various circumstances. Reframing failure as a teacher requires discipline and honesty. The temptation is to externalize blame, attributing mistakes to circumstance, luck, or other people. While external factors exist, overemphasizing them limits growth. Focus on the actionable, what you did, how you acted, and what you could control differently. This mindset fosters responsibility rather than resentment. Each failure becomes a mirror, revealing habits, choices, and blind spots. The act of facing these truths without defensiveness develops resilience, strengthens decision-making, and accelerates the path to improvement. Documenting lessons is critical for future reference. Without a record, insights fade and mistakes are repeated. Maintain a failure log where each event is dissected and key takeaways are recorded. Include context, decisions, outcomes, and planned adjustments. This becomes a personal guidebook, a resource to consult when similar challenges arise. Revisiting prior lessons reinforces learning, highlights patterns, and prevents the mind from repeating the same misjudgments. Over time, this catalog evolves into a repository of wisdom that compounds your capacity to respond effectively in the future. Mindset determines the quality of recovery from failure. View setbacks as temporary and solvable, not as inherent reflections of ability. Cultivate patience, persistence, and flexibility. When outcomes deviate from expectations, resist the impulse to freeze or overcorrect. Respond deliberately with measured changes that address the root cause. The rapidity of adjustment should not sacrifice discernment. Quick reflection combined with precise action is more effective than impulsive reaction, ensuring that failure becomes an instrument of learning rather than a source of discouragement. Accountability accelerates the learning process. Sharing insights and adjustments with a trusted peer, mentor, or coach provides an external perspective that can reveal blind spots. Others may notice patterns or solutions invisible from inside one's own perspective. The discussion should focus on understanding the failure, isolating actionable adjustments, and maintaining responsibility for implementation. External accountability reinforces internal discipline, and the combination of self-observation plus feedback creates a powerful engine for continuous growth. The process of learning from failure is cyclical. Fail, reflect, adjust, implement, and repeat. Each iteration builds competence, sharpens judgment, and expands capacity. The cycle converts each misstep into a forward-moving step, ensuring that errors do not accumulate into discouragement. The speed of transition from failure to action determines the rate of growth. Hesitation wastes the opportunity that failure provides. Immediate adjustment captures the maximum potential of the lesson. The mind becomes trained to seek the intelligence within setbacks rather than hiding from it. Visualization enhances the learning effect. Before attempting the next iteration, imagine the adjusted approach in precise detail, the environment, the steps, and the anticipated obstacles. Visualization primes the brain, improving performance and reinforcing confidence. By mentally rehearsing a better execution, the gap between current capability and desired outcome narrows. Each adjustment is no longer an abstract instruction, but a lived scenario. Mental rehearsal prepares the mind to act deliberately, reducing the probability of repeating the same missteps. Persistence is reinforced through small, consistent corrections. The accumulation of minor, precise adjustments leads to significant progress over time. Learning from failure is not about eliminating mistakes completely. It is about refining the approach continuously until mastery is achieved. Each corrected misstep is a victory in itself, demonstrating the ability to respond intelligently rather than reactively. Success becomes less about avoiding error and more about leveraging every failure as a strategic step forward. Emotional resilience is developed alongside practical insight. Encountering setbacks without succumbing to despair strengthens the character. By normalizing failure as part of the growth process, fear of mistakes diminishes. This creates freedom to act boldly, experiment, and push beyond comfort zones. Each failure becomes evidence not of weakness, but of engagement, a sign of active pursuit toward improvement. The mind trained in this manner learns faster, adapts more fluidly, and achieves results that would have been impossible under the weight of fear. Reflection alone is insufficient. Action is mandatory. Knowledge of failure must be translated into deliberate change. The adjustment should be specific, small enough to be implemented immediately, and structured to produce measurable results. For example, if a workout session falters due to fatigue, an adjustment might be modifying intensity, changing the time of day, or improving pre-workout nutrition. The goal is a rapid loop. Fail, analyze, adjust. The speed and precision of this cycle determine whether failure becomes a stepping stone or a stumbling block. Over time, a culture of learning from failure develops within the individual. Challenges are no longer intimidating because each setback is an opportunity to refine methods and strengthen skills. Decision-making improves because prior failures provide a reference framework, enabling quicker, more accurate judgments. Competence grows not linearly, but exponentially as each misstep contributes disproportionately to experience. By integrating failure into daily practice, growth becomes inevitable, discipline becomes natural, and resilience becomes ingrained. The culmination of learning from failure is self-mastery. The person who examines every setback, extracts its lessons, and implements precise adjustments, develops a level of skill, judgment, and confidence inaccessible to those who fear error. Each challenge transforms from a threat into a tool for development. The mind becomes trained to see opportunities within adversity, to act deliberately under pressure, and to convert every setback into momentum. Continuous improvement is no longer aspirational. It becomes the natural rhythm of life. Every failure becomes a spark for growth, and each day an opportunity to refine, adjust, and Number 4. Practice skills consistently. No excuses. Skill is not discovered in moments of inspiration. It is forged in repetition. Mastery is the result of consistent, deliberate practice, applied day after day, regardless of mood, circumstance, or external validation. Waiting for motivation is the enemy of improvement. Progress favors action over intention, discipline over desire. The path to excellence is carved through consistent application, where small, focused efforts accumulate into remarkable ability over time. To practice skills consistently with no excuses requires a mindset of accountability, patience, and unwavering commitment to incremental progress. Consistency begins with structure. Skills cannot grow in chaos. Dedicate specific times in your day exclusively for practice. When a block of time is reserved, the brain begins to anticipate the activity, reducing friction and making engagement automatic. Treat these sessions as inviolable appointments with yourself. Interruptions or postponements dilute progress, eroding the habit of focus. Scheduling is not merely an organizational tactic. It is a psychological commitment, signaling to your mind and body that the work is non-negotiable. Repetition becomes the engine, and structure fuels the engine efficiently. Deliberate practice is central to mastery. Repetition without purpose breeds familiarity but rarely produces improvement. Each session must have a clearly defined objective. For instance, a musician may isolate a single technical passage, refining finger movement, timing, and expression repeatedly. A writer may focus solely on crafting compelling sentences or mastering transitions. The goal is not volume alone, but quality within repetition. Deep engagement strengthens the neural pathways associated with the skill, transforming action into instant. Over time, these focused sessions compound, elevating proficiency in ways that unfocused or casual practice never can. Preparation reduces excuses. Common obstacles such as fatigue, lack of materials, or unclear direction can prevent practice. Anticipate these barriers and address them proactively. Arrange the workspace, gather necessary tools, and clarify the session objective beforehand. When everything is ready, excuses lose their grip. The mind can then focus fully on execution rather than rationalization. Success is often determined by readiness more than by raw talent. By removing friction points, consistency becomes sustainable, and the quality of each practice session increases. Resilience underlies sustained improvement. There will be days when energy is low, distractions abound, or progress feels imperceptible. Excellence is built through action on these days, not the easy ones. Commit to practice regardless of external conditions. Even a reduced or modified session is better than none. Continuity matters more than duration. Missing a day breaks momentum and undermines the neural conditioning that consistent effort develops. Over time, practicing under suboptimal conditions strengthens the mind, instills discipline, and fortifies the habit against future disruptions. Tracking progress enhances motivation. Record the quantity and quality of each session. Note improvements, challenges, and specific observations about performance. Over weeks, these logs provide objective evidence of growth, which reinforces commitment and sustains momentum. They also highlight areas requiring refinement, allowing practice to be adjusted intelligently rather than randomly. Quantifying effort transforms abstract ambition into visible, measurable advancement. The combination of consistency and feedback accelerates skill development and ensures that practice remains purposeful, not mechanical. Micro-adjustments maximize efficiency. Consistent practice should be paired with reflection. Each session should conclude with a brief evaluation. What was effective, what caused difficulty, and what could be refined next. These observations inform the following session, ensuring continuous improvement. This loop of action, reflection, and adjustment transforms repetition into mastery. Skill develops fastest when every effort is intentional, informed by immediate feedback, and slightly optimized with each iteration. The mind learns to self-correct, cultivating independence and sharper judgment. Accountability strengthens adherence. Sharing goals or progress with a mentor, peer, or even a personal tracking system can maintain discipline. Public commitment or visible tracking motivates action and reduces the tendency to rationalize avoidance. Accountability partners can offer guidance, critique, or encouragement, reinforcing consistent effort. The combination of personal responsibility and external observation creates a robust system for continuous practice, ensuring that excuses find no fertile ground to take hold. Ritual enhances consistency. Anchoring practice within a repeatable routine signals to the brain that the activity is expected and necessary. Ritual reduces resistance and converts discipline into habit. Whether it's beginning each session with a warm-up, a specific cue, or a preparatory step, these repeated signals condition the mind to enter a focused state with minimal deliberation. The ritual becomes a silent partner, nudging action automatically and reinforcing the commitment to practice, regardless of external distractions or internal reluctance. Embracing imperfection fuels resilience. The goal of consistent practice is not flawless performance in every session, but sustained engagement. Early attempts often contain mistakes, inefficiencies, or awkwardness. Treat these as natural components of growth. Instead of judging the session by immediate perfection, focus on completion and incremental refinement. Mastery is a gradual accumulation of competence, built from the willingness to engage repeatedly, even in imperfect circumstances. This mindset reduces fear, fosters persistence, and transforms errors into information that guides future. Time management complements consistency. Identify natural energy peaks and schedule practice during periods of optimal focus. Avoid attempting demanding skills during low-energy windows or when distractions are likely. Prioritize practice over trivial tasks. Excellence is rarely an accident. It is the result of deliberate allocation of resources. When practice is treated as essential rather than optional, skill development becomes a non-negotiable pillar of daily life. Repetition under optimal conditions accelerates growth and minimizes wasted effort. Incremental progression maintains motivation. Avoid overwhelming the mind with massive, unattainable goals. Instead, define achievable steps that stretch capability without causing burnout. Gradually increase complexity, intensity, or duration as competence grows. This approach prevents discouragement, keeps engagement high, and ensures that each session builds confidence alongside skill. Small, measurable gains accumulate into substantial transformation over time. The combination of consistent effort and progressive challenge creates a compounding effect, turning ordinary practice into extraordinary results. Integration into daily life sustains long-term development. Practice should be embedded into routines so that it is non-negotiable rather than sporadic. Identify habitual cues, morning coffee, lunch break, or evening wind down, and attach practice to these moments. Embedding skill development into existing structures minimizes friction, reduces reliance on willpower, and reinforces the habit. Consistency is more easily maintained when practice becomes an automatic, expected part of life, rather than a negotiable option subject to mood or circumstance. Reflection amplifies learning. Each session should include a brief analysis of technique, efficiency, and outcomes. Consider what worked, what failed, and why. This reflective pause ensures that repetition is not mindless, but intelligent. Observing nuances in performance, noting patterns of error, and refining strategy transforms raw repetition into purposeful refinement. Practice becomes a dynamic process where each iteration is both execution and assessment, accelerating the trajectory of skill acquisition. Adaptability strengthens results. Skill development is not static. As ability grows, so too must the challenges. Consistently practicing the same tasks without variation leads to plateauing. Introduce variations, increasing difficulty, or new contexts to ensure continuous learning. Adaptation keeps the mind engaged, prevents stagnation, and ensures that consistent practice translates into versatile competence. Progress is not measured merely by repetition, but by increasing mastery under diverse conditions. Focus intensifies the effect of consistency. Eliminate distractions during practice to ensure full engagement. Quality of attention matters as much as quantity of time. Multitasking or half-hearted effort diminishes return. Treat each session as a concentrated investment in skill, where attention is undivided and deliberate. The combination of uninterrupted focus and repeated effort accelerates skill consolidation, creating a foundation that becomes increasingly difficult to disrupt over time. Discipline surpasses motivation. Motivation is fleeting and unreliable. Discipline is stable and predictable. By committing to daily practice without excuses, the mind is trained to act independently of emotion or desire. Habitual practice becomes automatic, reducing the cognitive load required to begin each session. This stability allows for continued progress, even during periods of low inspiration, fatigue, or distraction. Consistency anchored in discipline produces results that motivation alone could never achieve. The culmination of consistent practice is transformation. Repeated, deliberate effort compounds into skill that feels effortless, precise, and natural. The mind and body adapt to the demands placed upon them, creating performance that is both reliable and adaptable. What once required conscious effort becomes instinctive, and mastery emerges from the accumulation of countless focused sessions. Excellence is not an accident. It is the product of persistent, disciplined practice without excuses, where each day's effort becomes a building block for extraordinary capability. Ultimately, practicing skills consistently with no excuses is the cornerstone of self-improvement. Each day presents a choice: engage fully in the disciplined pursuit of mastery, or defer progress under the pretense of circumstance. By structuring time, focusing attention, measuring progress, and adjusting intelligently, consistent practice becomes an unstoppable engine for growth. The act of showing up, day after day, even when inconvenient or challenging, transforms potential into proficiency. Every session, every repetition, and every focused minute compounds into lasting skill, resilience, and the kind of capability that defines exceptional individuals. Number 5. Seek feedback from trusted mentors. Growth accelerates when it is guided by perspective beyond your own. No one achieves mastery in isolation. The mind is limited by habitual thought patterns, blind spots, and emotional biases. Trusted mentors serve as mirrors reflecting not only strengths, but areas that require improvement, often revealing insights invisible to the untrained eye. Seeking feedback is not a sign of weakness, but a strategic approach to accelerate progress, refine decision-making, and cultivate a depth of skill and understanding that would otherwise take years to achieve independently. The discipline of receiving and acting on guidance transforms potential into measurable achievement. Effective feedback begins with clarity about the purpose of mentorship. The goal is not to receive generic praise or vague suggestions, but precise, actionable information that informs your next step. Identify what aspect of your performance or behavior you wish to improve: a skill, decision-making process, communication, or leadership capability. The more specific the request, the more useful the response will be. Ambiguity invites generalized advice that is difficult to apply. A structured approach, framed around a single question or target area, allows mentors to focus on the most meaningful guidance, providing a roadmap that can be acted upon immediately. Trust is the foundation of useful feedback. Seek mentors whose experience and judgment are credible, whose observations are honest, and whose intentions align with your growth. A mentor must be willing to speak truthfully, even when it challenges comfort or ego, while balancing critique with encouragement. The relationship must be reciprocal in focus. Your willingness to act on advice reinforces the mentor's investment, while their insights provide direction you cannot easily generate alone. Feedback without trust is easily dismissed, and relationships without accountability fail to produce meaningful change. The process of seeking feedback requires vulnerability. Openly presenting work, choices, or behaviors for critique exposes gaps in competence and invites judgment. Courage is essential, as is humility. Avoid defensiveness or rationalization. Instead, approach each session with curiosity, framing questions to extract precise observations. Where did my approach fall short? What patterns am I missing? Which action would yield the most immediate improvement? By asking focused, thoughtful questions, feedback becomes targeted intelligence rather than generalized opinion, allowing practical application without ambiguity. Listening effectively is a skill in itself. Receiving guidance is not passive. It demands attention, mental processing, and the suspension of preconceptions. Resist the urge to immediately counter or justify. Absorb the information fully, then evaluate how it can be integrated into action. Often initial resistance arises because feedback challenges ingrained habits or perceptions. Recognizing that discomfort signals opportunity allows you to treat critique as data, rather than judgment. The difference between hearing feedback and internalizing it determines whether it becomes transformative or merely decorative. Acting on feedback is as critical as seeking it. Insights without implementation remain theoretical. Translate each piece of guidance into specific actions or experiments. For example, if a mentor identifies hesitation in decision-making, design a daily practice that encourages faster, deliberate choices. Implement the adjustment immediately to capture the momentum of insight. Delays dilute the effectiveness of feedback and allow old patterns to reassert themselves. The integration of guidance into behavior converts advice into skill, fostering continuous, measurable growth. Seek a diversity of perspectives within mentorship. Different mentors illuminate different facets of performance: technical skill, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, or interpersonal communication. Multiple viewpoints prevent tunnel vision and reveal blind spots that a single perspective may miss. While consistency in mentoring relationships is valuable, supplementing guidance with occasional external perspectives creates a more comprehensive understanding. Contrast and convergence of observations allow you to distinguish patterns from anomalies, building a precise map of areas for improvement and strategies for development. Feedback loops should be regular and structured. Sporadic consultation reduces accountability and diminishes learning. Establish predictable sessions or checkpoints with mentors, allowing time for preparation, reflection, and follow-up. Between sessions, apply prior advice, record outcomes, and note questions or challenges. Presenting these findings in subsequent discussions creates a dynamic cycle. Feedback informs action, results generate new insights, and the cycle continues. Over time, this rhythm produces exponential growth, as each iteration builds on the last, reinforcing discipline and accelerating skill acquisition. Preparation enhances the quality of feedback. Present work, results, or behavior with context, clarity, and data. Mentors respond more effectively to precise, organized input than to vague or scattered information. Document specific challenges, attempted solutions, and outcomes, creating a foundation for informed critique. The effort you invest in preparing for feedback sessions signals seriousness, facilitates deeper insight, and increases the likelihood that guidance will be both actionable and relevant. Well-prepared sessions maximize learning and respect both your time and the mentor's expertise. Feedback is not solely about correction. It identifies strengths to amplify as well as weaknesses to address. Recognizing effective behaviors or decisions allows reinforcement of successful patterns, creating a dual path for improvement. Emphasizing what works alongside what needs refinement ensures that momentum is maintained and confidence is preserved. Mentors often see latent strengths you may underestimate, guiding strategic emphasis that accelerates both performance and satisfaction. Growth is not just repair, it is strategic enhancement. The emotional dimension of feedback requires careful management. Critique can provoke discomfort, discouragement, or defensiveness. Adopt a mindset that views criticism as essential data for growth. Emotional discipline enables you to extract insight without letting ego interfere. Reflect on feedback objectively, identifying the core lessons while filtering out subjective opinions that lack relevance. This separation between emotion and intelligence allows clear action planning and preserves resilience, transforming the psychological challenge of critique into an instrument of progress. Iterative experimentation magnifies feedback's effect. Each adjustment suggested by a mentor should be tested in practice, outcomes observed, and refined as necessary. Treat feedback as hypotheses. Implement, measure, analyze, and adjust. This structured approach converts advice into skill, knowledge into behavior, and observation into competence. Repetition under informed guidance embeds learning deeply, ensuring that insights are internalized rather than superficially noted. The combination of external perspective and deliberate practice produces acceleration that isolated effort cannot achieve. Feedback encourages accountability and transparency. Sharing both successes and failures openly creates a culture of responsibility. Mentors can observe patterns over time, notice trends, and provide context-sensitive guidance. Accountability enhances motivation, as the desire to apply advice reinforces consistent effort. Transparent engagement with mentors establishes a professional and personal discipline that translates into other areas of life, cultivating integrity, reliability, and self-governance, alongside technical or skill-based improvement. Balance acceptance with critical evaluation. Not all advice will be equally applicable, accurate, or aligned with your goals. Apply discernment, analyze guidance, weigh its relevance, and adapt it to your circumstances. Mentors provide insight, not absolute answers. Learning to extract value selectively transforms feedback from prescription into a flexible tool, empowering you to implement the most effective strategies without blindly following instruction. Critical engagement ensures autonomy while leveraging external wisdom. Over time, a feedback-informed practice develops self-awareness that would be unattainable in isolation. The repeated cycle of receiving observation, integrating adjustments, and monitoring outcomes strengthens perception of strengths, weaknesses, and behavioral tendencies. Self-knowledge becomes increasingly precise, enabling proactive adjustments and predictive decision-making. Mentorship thus functions as both catalyst and amplifier. The guidance accelerates learning, and the reflective process consolidates it into durable competence. Feedback also cultivates humility and openness. Learning from those with more experience fosters a mindset receptive to correction and less defensive under challenge. Humility strengthens relationships, encourages continuous learning, and prevents stagnation. Openness to critique allows you to access knowledge, insight, and strategies that cannot be generated independently. Growth requires receptivity as much as effort. Mentors provide the lens through which receptivity produces tangible progress. Finally, the practice of seeking feedback is not a one-time event, but a lifelong habit. Skill, knowledge, and personal development are ongoing journeys. Even seasoned professionals benefit from objective observation and targeted guidance. Mentorship becomes a compounding force. Insights multiply across experiences, mistakes become teachable moments, and strategies are refined continuously. Those who embrace the discipline of guided improvement navigate their trajectory faster, more efficiently, and with greater precision than those who rely solely on self-direction. The culmination of seeking feedback from trusted mentors is accelerated mastery. Guidance transforms potential into skill, blind spots into clarity, and hesitation into informed action. Every insight, when absorbed, acted upon, and refined, contributes to continuous improvement, creating a cycle of learning that compounds over time. By seeking and valuing mentorship, the journey toward excellence becomes not only more effective, but also more insightful, deliberate, and sustainable, ensuring that each day's efforts are amplified by the wisdom and perspective of those who have already navigated the path. Number 6. Embrace challenges to build resilience. Growth and strength are forged not in comfort, but in confrontation with difficulty. Challenges are the raw material of resilience, the arena where discipline, courage, and adaptability are tested and expanded. Life naturally presents obstacles, and the measure of progress is not the absence of struggle but the manner in which we respond to it. Embracing challenges requires a mindset that sees difficulty not as punishment or misfortune, but as a tool for development, a signal that opportunity for growth lies ahead. Those who face obstacles with clarity, purpose, and intentionality develop an inner strength that cannot be shaken by circumstance. The first step in embracing challenges is to shift perception. Fear and avoidance are instinctive reactions, but they constrict potential. Viewing obstacles as opportunities transforms discomfort into fuel. Every problem presents information, gaps to fill, skills to refine, or perspectives to reconsider. A challenge that initially provokes resistance can be reframed as a structured exercise in capability, endurance. This mental reorientation reduces dread, energizes action, and converts the unfamiliar into a terrain for skill development. The mind becomes a tool for engagement rather than retreat. Preparation enhances the ability to confront difficulty effectively, anticipate obstacles before they arrive, understand likely stressors, potential failures, and points of resistance. By mapping challenges in advance, you gain control over the reaction, reducing panic or indecision. Preparation is not about eliminating uncertainty. It is about equipping yourself with resources, strategies, and mindset to navigate adversity. Readiness fosters confidence, which enables decisive action under pressure and strengthens resilience in the face of unpredictable circumstances. Action is the ultimate test of resilience. Challenges demand more than recognition, they require response. Delaying or avoiding action allows fear to expand, eroding confidence and creating habit patterns of retreat. When difficulty arises, commit fully to engagement, analyzing the situation while taking deliberate steps forward. Even imperfect action provides insight, builds experience, and reduces the psychological weight of the challenge. Momentum, once established through action, makes subsequent obstacles easier to confront, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of capability and courage. Incremental exposure to difficulty builds resilience more effectively than sporadic confrontation. Start with manageable challenges that push limits without overwhelming capacity. Gradually escalate complexity, intensity, or stakes, allowing the mind and body to adapt. Just as muscles strengthen under progressive resistance, psychological resilience grows through repeated, calibrated exposure to adversity. Each success reinforces confidence, each struggle teaches adaptation, and over time the cumulative effect produces a robustness that feels instinctive rather than forced. Reflection amplifies learning from challenges. After each confrontation, evaluate both performance and response. Identify moments of strength, lapses in judgment, and areas for refinement. Reflection converts experience into wisdom by transforming raw events into structured insights. Consider questions such as, what worked under pressure? What could have been handled differently? How did emotional state affect performance? These analyses inform future encounters, ensuring that each difficulty serves as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Resilience requires emotional regulation. Challenges provoke stress, frustration, and sometimes despair. Developing the ability to observe emotion without being dominated by it is essential. Stoic perspective emphasizes control over reaction rather than elimination of feeling. By managing emotional responses, you maintain clarity, make rational decisions, and prevent temporary discomfort from derailing long-term objectives. The disciplined mind treats emotional turbulence as data to guide action rather than a barrier to be avoided. Problem-solving skills are honed in adversity. Challenges often reveal gaps in knowledge, efficiency, or strategy. Engage each difficulty as a complex puzzle to solve, breaking it into smaller, actionable components. Approach obstacles analytically, considering options, consequences, and trade-offs. The combination of strategic thinking and persistent effort enhances adaptability, a cornerstone of resilience. Over time, repeated problem-solving under pressure strengthens judgment, enabling faster and more effective responses to unforeseen challenges. Physical and mental endurance reinforce each other. Persistent engagement with difficulty improves stamina, focus, and tolerance for discomfort. By pushing through fatigue, distraction, or resistance, the mind learns that temporary discomfort does not necessitate retreat. Regular exposure to controlled stress, whether through demanding work, physical exertion, or problem-solving under constraints, develops a durable capacity to endure, adapt, and perform. Resilience is built as a cumulative effect of repeated, disciplined engagement rather than isolated acts of courage. Adaptability is central to embracing challenges. Rarely do obstacles present themselves exactly as expected. Flexibility in strategy, openness to alternative approaches, and readiness to revise assumptions are crucial. A rigid response often amplifies difficulty, whereas adaptability converts disruption into opportunity. Observing outcomes objectively, adjusting methods, and iterating quickly strengthens confidence and ensures that challenges accelerate rather than impede growth. Resilience is not resistance to change, but mastery of navigation through it. Accountability deepens the impact of facing adversity. Sharing goals, progress, and challenges with a mentor, peer, or team member introduces external observation that can illuminate blind spots and reinforce discipline. Accountability partners can provide encouragement, challenge assumptions, and hold standards high, ensuring that engagement with difficulty is intentional and effective. External oversight enhances internal commitment, increasing both consistency and quality of response to challenges. Challenges also cultivate patience. Immediate results are rare when confronting complex obstacles. Developing the capacity to persist through uncertainty, incremental setbacks, and slow progress is fundamental. Patience allows sustained effort without capitulation, prevents hasty decisions driven by frustration, and fosters a long-term perspective. Resilient individuals recognize that mastery, problem-solving, and growth require iterative engagement and temporal endurance, valuing persistence over impulsive reaction. Observation of response patterns provides valuable insight. Reflect on how you behave under pressure, where attention falters, where energy wanes, or where fear manifests. These observations identify personal vulnerabilities and strengths, creating a blueprint for targeted development. By understanding habitual reactions to adversity, you can deliberately practice new, more effective responses. Self-awareness turns challenges into structured training grounds for mental and emotional fortitude. Visualization prepares the mind for confronting difficulty. Mentally rehearsing scenarios, including potential obstacles and solutions, primes decision-making and emotional regulation. By imagining challenges in detail, including obstacles and required actions, the mind becomes familiar with the terrain before it arrives. This preparation reduces hesitation, enhances clarity, and strengthens confidence. Mental rehearsal complements physical and practical preparation, creating a holistic approach to resilience. Commitment to challenges transforms the perception of risk. When difficulty is approached with intention, fear diminishes, and engagement becomes active rather than reactive. The mind begins to seek out obstacles as opportunities to apply and expand skills. Each conquered challenge reinforces the belief in capability, building a cumulative sense of control and competence. Resilience emerges not from the absence of hardship, but from the consistent mastery of engagement under stress. Integration into daily life ensures that resilience is habitual, rather than situational. Seek challenges that naturally arise, and treat them as opportunities for growth. Avoiding discomfort, whether through demanding tasks, complex social interactions, or rigorous problem solving. Treat each obstacle as a practice arena. Over time, repeated exposure makes resilience instinctive, ingraining the ability to respond effectively under pressure. The skill becomes second nature, enabling consistent performance regardless of external conditions. Reflection, action, and adaptation form a continuous loop in resilience building. Engage the challenge, observe performance, adjust methods, and repeat. Each cycle strengthens problem-solving capacity, emotional regulation, and confidence. The speed and accuracy of iteration determine the efficiency of growth. Those who embrace challenges consistently experience exponential improvement because each obstacle becomes a learning vector rather than a deterrent. Ultimately, embracing challenges cultivates strength, competence, and unwavering resilience. Difficulty becomes a tool for refinement, an instrument for growth, and a benchmark for capability. The disciplined individual learns to confront adversity with intention, analyze outcomes with clarity, and adapt with precision. Over time, the accumulation of experience in adversity creates a robust foundation for decision-making, emotional stability, and skill mastery. Challenges are not detours or punishments. They are accelerators of excellence, forging a mind capable of navigating uncertainty, overcoming obstacles, and thriving under pressure. The continuous embrace of difficulty transforms life into an arena of opportunity. Each problem conquered reinforces self-belief, hones strategic thinking, and strengthens emotional endurance. Resilience becomes a characteristic rather than an effort, a lens through which every experience is interpreted, and a skill that compounds with practice. By intentionally seeking, facing, and learning from challenges, growth becomes inevitable. Adversity is no longer feared, but welcomed as an essential element in the pursuit of mastery, shaping a character that is disciplined, capable, and unshakably strong. Number 7. Prioritize energy over time management. Time is a finite resource, but energy is the fuel that determines what you can accomplish with it. Traditional productivity advice often emphasizes schedules, calendars, and task lists, as if the hours themselves dictate output. Yet even the most meticulously planned day produces little when focus is scattered, fatigue sets in, or mental clarity falters. Prioritizing energy over time management shifts the perspective. Instead of asking how much time is available, ask when and under what conditions you are most capable of performing at your peak. Excellence is less about minutes allocated and more about the quality and intensity of the effort applied. The foundation of energy prioritization is awareness. Track natural rhythms of alertness, attention, and vitality throughout the day. Observe when focus is sharpest, creativity flows effortlessly, and endurance feels high. Conversely, notice periods of low energy, distraction, or sluggishness. Mapping these cycles allows you to align demanding tasks with peak performance windows and less intensive activities with low energy periods. When energy is managed intentionally, even short bursts of effort can yield results far beyond what is possible through brute scheduling alone. Nutrition, sleep, and movement are integral to sustaining energy. Fueling the body with appropriate nourishment provides the raw materials for cognitive and physical output. Sleep is not negotiable. It replenishes both mind and body, consolidates memory, and primes the nervous system for optimal performance. Movement, whether through formal exercise or consistent physical activity, increases circulation, stimulates neurochemical balance, and boosts overall alertness. Without a foundation of physiological vitality, even the most detailed time management system falters. Prioritizing energy acknowledges that productivity begins with the body and mind, not the clock. Mental energy is as critical as physical stamina. Continuous exposure to distractions, stress, or shallow engagement depletes cognitive reserves. Protecting focus through deliberate practices, such as single tasking, environment control, and mindfulness enhances sustained attention. Avoiding multitasking reduces cognitive load, allowing energy to be channeled toward high-value activities. Scheduled breaks, deep work periods, and mental rest prevent burnout and maintain the intensity of engagement. Productivity is a function of the mind's readiness as much as the hours available. Tasks should be aligned with energy levels. High complexity or creative work demands peak cognitive function. Attempting these activities during fatigue compromises quality and lengthens completion time. Conversely, repetitive or mechanical tasks can be handled during low-energy windows. Energy prioritization transforms the calendar from a rigid container of hours into a dynamic map of capability, where effort is matched to potential. The result is work completed efficiently, with reduced frustration and increased satisfaction. Energy management requires strategic elimination. Unnecessary tasks, distractions, and low-value obligations consume reserves without proportional benefit. Identify and remove activities that drain attention or dilute effort. Simplifying commitments preserves energy for high-impact endeavors. Saying no to non-essential demands is not avoidance, but optimization. Each preserved unit of energy becomes a resource for meaningful action, amplifying effectiveness beyond what traditional time allocation can achieve. Recovery is a critical component. Energy is not infinitely renewable. It must be replenished deliberately. Scheduled periods of rest, restorative activities, and mental detachment allow the body and mind to reset. Recovery is not indulgence. It is essential maintenance that sustains high performance over time. Without it, even small challenges feel insurmountable, and sustained output becomes impossible. Productivity without replenishment is illusionary. Energy prioritization treats resilience and recovery as integral to success. Attention management complements energy focus. Energy is wasted when dispersed across trivial tasks or constant reactive responses. Protect attention through boundaries, selective engagement, and disciplined focus. Group related activities together to minimize context switching. When attention is concentrated, cognitive energy is maximized, decisions are sharper, and creativity flourishes. Time is abundant, but attention is finite. Directing energy toward concentrated effort multiplies output disproportionately. Strategic alignment of energy with objectives amplifies impact. Identify the few high-leverage activities that move goals forward significantly. Apply peak energy to these priorities rather than attempting to fill every minute with low-value tasks. The Pareto principle becomes more effective when filtered through energy awareness. 20% of effort produces 80% of results, but only if applied when capacity is high. Energy-focused planning ensures that high-impact work receives the resources it deserves, enhancing efficiency and effectiveness. Micro-adjustments of energy allocation improve long-term performance. Monitor fluctuations in mood, fatigue, and alertness. Introduce small interventions to sustain vitality. Brief walks, hydration, micro-breaks, or short bouts of focused breathing. Incremental shifts preserve momentum and prevent depletion during extended periods of work. The aggregation of these small practices sustains high energy states and prevents cumulative fatigue, maintaining consistent output throughout the day. Resilience is strengthened through energy prioritization. High stakes or demanding tasks are approached with full capacity rather than depleted reserves. Stress tolerance increases when energy levels are optimized and setbacks are managed more effectively. Fatigue magnifies obstacles, while vitality enhances adaptability. By attending to energy, challenges are met with clarity and strength rather than reaction and compromise. Sustained high performance is as much about enduring and adapting as it is about execution. Routine amplifies energy management. Establish habits that align with natural rhythms. Wake and sleep consistently. Schedule meals to avoid crashes. And reserve focus-intensive work for predictable periods of peak alertness. Routine reduces decision fatigue, preserves energy for meaningful action, and creates a stable foundation for sustained productivity. Habits act as an automatic mechanism to protect and direct energy toward high-value activities. Emotional energy influences output as much as physical stamina. Negative moods, unresolved conflicts, and mental clutter deplete reserves rapidly. Cultivate emotional clarity through reflection, journaling, or structured dialogue. Address sources of stress proactively to free mental capacity. Positive emotional states amplify focus, creativity, and motivation. Energy prioritization encompasses both physiological and psychological domains, recognizing that both are necessary for sustained high-level performance. Measurement enhances energy optimization. Track not only hours spent but quality of engagement. Note when productivity is highest, which activities drain or replenish energy, and patterns of fatigue. Quantitative and qualitative observation allows intelligent adjustment, aligning work, rest, and high-focus periods with observable capacity. Insightful tracking converts intuition into actionable guidance, increasing both efficiency and output. Decision-making efficiency improves under energy prioritization. Complex choices demand cognitive resources, and depleted energy leads to errors, indecision, and procrastination. Reserve high-energy periods for critical decisions, planning, or creative problem-solving. When energy is protected and applied strategically, decisions are sharper, outcomes are more reliable, and execution becomes smoother. Time alone cannot substitute for the clarity provided by optimized energy. Integration of energy awareness into daily life transforms productivity from reactive scheduling to proactive capability management. Begin each day with an assessment of expected energy levels. Align tasks accordingly, and adjust dynamically as conditions shift. Treat energy as currency, spend wisely, replenish strategically, and allocate to high-impact activities. This approach ensures that effort is maximized, output is optimized, and progress is consistent. Ultimately, prioritizing energy over time management produces sustained achievement. Tasks are completed with precision, creativity flourishes, resilience strengthens, and momentum is maintained. The quality of engagement surpasses mere quantity of hours. By respecting natural rhythms, optimizing physiological and psychological reserves, and aligning effort with capacity, progress becomes deliberate, measurable, and accelerating. Energy-conscious action transforms days into platforms for peak performance, allowing consistent advancement toward goals while preserving the vitality required for long-term growth. The deliberate cultivation of energy awareness shifts the paradigm of productivity. Success is no longer measured by hours logged, but by output produced, decisions executed, and mastery applied. By observing, protecting, and strategically deploying energy, each day becomes an arena for focused, impactful action. Time is the container. Energy is the catalyst. Those who prioritize vitality over scheduling consistently outperform peers who rely on time alone, achieving more, sustaining effort, and growing without compromising resilience or clarity. Number 8. Review wins and plan next. Progress is amplified when reflection and foresight are practiced with equal intensity. Reviewing wins is more than celebrating success. It is a disciplined act of understanding what works, why it works, and how those lessons can be leveraged in the future. Equally, planning the next step transforms insight into action, ensuring momentum is not lost between victories. Growth occurs when reflection informs strategy, and strategy guides deliberate execution. Ignoring either side reduces achievements to isolated moments rather than building blocks of lasting capability. Those who consistently review wins and plan next actions create a self-reinforcing cycle of improvement that compounds over time. The process begins with meticulous observation of outcomes. Each win, regardless of scale, contains information about effective choices, decisions, timing, and execution. Take the time to dissect what led to success, which actions were decisive, which strategies produced results, and what behaviors contributed most directly. Understanding these elements transforms luck or coincidence into repeatable methodology. By extracting precise lessons, patterns emerge, revealing principles that can guide future performance. Reflection is an analytical process, combining objective assessment with nuanced insight to convert success into intelligence. Acknowledging wins builds momentum and psychological resilience. Recognition of achievement reinforces confidence, validates effort, and strengthens motivation. Yet, the value lies not merely in congratulation, but in extracting actionable understanding. Each accomplishment demonstrates methods, behaviors, and strategies that are effective. By consciously analyzing victories, you convert experience into a blueprint for continued progress. This approach ensures that confidence is grounded in evidence and capability rather than illusion, creating a strong psychological foundation for subsequent challenges. Contextual analysis deepens insight. Each win should be examined within the circumstances in which it occurred: timing, resources, environment, and external factors. Some successes are replicable under similar conditions but may fail under different ones. Understanding context ensures that lessons learned are nuanced and applicable rather than overly simplistic. Contextual reflection sharpens judgment, enhancing the ability to anticipate variables and adapt methods accordingly. It converts isolated outcomes into broadly applicable wisdom. Planning the next step is inseparable from reviewing success. Wins without strategic follow-through dissipate in value. Each insight gained must translate into deliberate action. Identify objectives that naturally extend from accomplishments, ensuring that forward movement is consistent and coherent. This creates a continuous trajectory rather than fragmented bursts of progress. Planning transforms knowledge into execution, reinforcing the principle that improvement is not accidental but the product of intentional design and disciplined application. Prioritization strengthens the planning process. Not every next step carries equal value. Focus on actions that produce disproportionate impact relative to effort or risk. Analyze past wins to identify high-leverage behaviors or decisions that drive meaningful outcomes. Allocate energy and resources toward these areas first, rather than dispersing effort across low-impact activities. Prioritized planning ensures that momentum is concentrated and amplified, increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of growth. Detailed documentation is essential. Maintain a record of wins, observations, lessons learned, and subsequent action plans. Recording specifics prevents memory distortion, supports accountability, and enables pattern recognition over time. Longitudinal observation reveals trends, strengths, and areas of recurring challenge. The documentation becomes both a historical reference and a predictive tool, guiding decisions and actions with clarity and precision. It transforms abstract reflection into concrete, repeatable methodology. Microanalysis enhances understanding. Beyond the general factors contributing to success, examine subtle details: timing of decisions, sequence of actions, mental state or emotional responses. Often minor adjustments differentiate average outcomes from extraordinary ones. Deep observation allows you to identify these critical differentiators, which can be replicated or refined in future efforts. Incremental understanding compounds over time, creating a granular mastery of the processes that lead to consistent achievement. Feedback loops accelerate growth. Share insights and observations with trusted advisors, mentors, or peers to gain external perspective. Others may notice patterns or nuances that are invisible from your vantage point. External validation or critique strengthens reflection by highlighting blind spots and confirming strategies that are effective. Integrating external input into the review and plan cycle enhances both accuracy and depth of insight, producing a more reliable and sophisticated framework for action. Emotionally anchoring the review process ensures balance. Pride in achievement motivates, but it must be tempered with objectivity. Avoid overconfidence or complacency by coupling recognition of wins with honest assessment of remaining challenges. This duality maintains focus, encourages humility, and preserves readiness for subsequent effort. Emotional equilibrium strengthens the capacity to act decisively while integrating lessons without bias, sustaining a mindset conducive to continuous improvement. Visualization strengthens planning. Mentally rehearsing next steps before execution clarifies process, anticipates obstacles, and primes focus. Envision the sequence of actions, potential challenges, and desired outcomes in detail. This mental preparation reinforces readiness, builds confidence, and reduces friction during actual implementation. Visualization bridges reflection and action, converting insight into applied skill with greater precision and efficiency. Incremental action planning is more sustainable than ambitious leaps. Break objectives into smaller, manageable steps that are specific, measurable, and time-bound. Each micro-step represents a controlled experiment, reducing risk while maintaining momentum. Small, deliberate actions maintain engagement, preserve focus, and prevent overwhelm. Compound effect arises from consistent, intentional execution rather than sporadic, large-scale efforts. Momentum accumulates when forward movement is predictable, measurable, and continuous. Resilience is reinforced through structured review and planning. Wins are opportunities to reinforce strategies, while planning ensures preparedness for inevitable obstacles. By combining acknowledgement with foresight, setbacks become manageable, and confidence is grounded in capability rather than chance. Resilience is strengthened not merely by enduring difficulty, but by cultivating a repeatable method of learning, adapting, and advancing. The review and plan cycle provides a stable framework within which growth becomes reliable and sustainable. Integration with broader goals ensures coherence. Wins and subsequent plans should be aligned with long-term objectives and vision. Each reflection should answer, how does this victory advance overall purpose? What subsequent actions are consistent with ultimate ambitions? Alignment prevents distractions, ensures strategic direction, and enhances the compounding effect of daily improvement. Success becomes cumulative rather than fragmented, transforming everyday effort into purposeful progress. Time-bound reflection increases effectiveness. Dedicate specific periods to reviewing accomplishments and planning forward actions. Structured timing ensures consistency, prevents oversight, and signals priority. Ritualizing the review and plan process trains the mind to anticipate assessment, leading to more disciplined observation and sharper insights. Regular repeated cycles accelerate growth by embedding reflection as a non-negotiable component of the improvement process. Lessons from failure complement the review of wins. Successful outcomes illuminate what works, while understanding partial or unexpected results provides contrast and additional insight. Consider both successes and near misses to create a richer, more accurate picture of effective methods. The synthesis of positive reinforcement with lessons from shortcomings produces a balanced framework, guiding action with both affirmation and caution. Adaptation is essential. Strategies that produced previous wins may require modification as circumstances change. Environmental shifts, evolving challenges, and personal growth necessitate adjustments. Continuous improvement demands flexibility. The review and plan cycle must accommodate new variables, while preserving principles that have proven effective. Adaptability ensures that learning remains relevant, actionable, and responsive rather than static or obsolete. Accountability amplifies the impact of reflection and planning. Sharing plans and insights with a mentor, peer, or team member introduces external observation, fostering diligence and follow-through. Accountability reinforces both learning and action, ensuring that plans are implemented and lessons are applied. The combination of internal discipline and external oversight creates a robust system for sustained progress. Over time, a disciplined review and planning practice develops self-awareness and strategic foresight. Repeated cycles refine judgment, highlight trends, and enhance anticipation of obstacles. The individual becomes attuned to patterns and performance, capable of predicting outcomes, and equipped to make proactive adjustments. Self-knowledge becomes an asset, magnifying the effect of each subsequent win and planning session. The culmination of reviewing wins and planning next steps is a culture of continuous growth. Success becomes systematic, insight transforms into deliberate action, and momentum compounds steadily. Each reflection clarifies principles, each plan directs effort efficiently, and each execution reinforces learning. Over time, this disciplined cycle produces mastery, resilience, and the ability to navigate increasingly complex challenges with clarity, precision, and confidence. By consistently reviewing victories and planning forward action, progress ceases to be accidental. Wins serve as guidance, not endpoints, and each subsequent plan ensures forward movement. The process transforms isolated achievements into coherent trajectories of improvement. Reflection informs strategy. Strategy drives execution, and execution produces new outcomes to analyze. The cycle creates an environment in which growth is inevitable, intentional, and compounding, ensuring that each day becomes a building block in a life of deliberate excellence. Number 9. Read daily. Apply new knowledge. Learning without application is knowledge without power. Reading daily is a tool, but its impact is realized only when the insights gained are integrated into action. Knowledge remains inert unless it shapes behavior, informs decisions, or improves skill. The combination of consistent learning and deliberate application creates exponential growth, turning ordinary effort into compounding advantage. Reading provides raw material, ideas, strategies, perspectives, and inspiration. Applying what is learned converts those ideas into tangible results, refining judgment, deepening understanding, and expanding capability in measurable ways. Daily reading cultivates discipline. Engaging consistently, even for brief periods, builds a habit that reinforces mental agility and curiosity. Regular exposure to diverse ideas broadens perspective, challenges assumptions, and deepens comprehension of complex subjects. It strengthens attention, expands vocabulary, and sharpens critical thinking. This consistent mental exercise primes the mind for innovation and insight. The act of reading itself becomes a tool for self-regulation, resilience, and intellectual stamina, creating a foundation for growth that extends far beyond the material absorbed. Selection of material is crucial. Reading should be intentional rather than random. Choose works that directly support goals, challenge current thinking, or expand skills in meaningful ways. Technical manuals, biographies, philosophical works, or strategic essays each offer different avenues for growth. The value of reading is amplified when the content is relevant, insightful, and actionable. Consuming knowledge passively provides minimal impact. Targeted reading ensures that each session contributes directly to personal and professional development. Comprehension is the bridge between reading and application. Engage actively with material rather than skimming. Annotate, summarize, and question what is read. Identify core principles, actionable strategies, and implications for your own circumstances. Active engagement deepens retention, enhances understanding, and enables meaningful integration of knowledge. By transforming passive reading into an interactive process, the brain encodes information in ways that support future problem-solving and informed decision-making. Application requires intentional planning. For every idea or insight gained, identify concrete steps to implement it. This might involve experimenting with a new habit, testing a strategy in work, or altering an approach to problem-solving. Immediate experimentation bridges the gap between theory and practice, turning reading into a laboratory for personal growth. Without action, the lessons of books remain theoretical. Through application, they become lived experience and measurable progress. Reflection enhances the power of learning. After applying knowledge, analyze the outcomes critically. What worked as anticipated? What required adaptation? How did the application affect skills, behavior, or results? Reflection converts experience into deeper understanding, allowing subsequent reading and experimentation to be more precise and impactful. The iterative process of read, apply, observe, and refine ensures that growth is continuous, deliberate, and compounding. Integration into daily life solidifies learning. Schedule consistent reading periods, create prompts for application, and establish systems for reflection. Embed insights into routines, decision-making processes, and problem-solving frameworks. The consistent loop of exposure, implementation, and evaluation transforms sporadic learning into a structured growth engine. Daily reading ceases to be a hobby and becomes a tool for tangible improvement, influencing performance, mindset, and results over time. Diversity in reading expands adaptability. Exposure to different genres, disciplines, and perspectives encourages creative thinking and flexible problem-solving. Encountering unfamiliar ideas challenges cognitive patterns, broadens understanding, and fosters mental agility. Integrating knowledge from multiple sources encourages synthesis, innovation, and more nuanced decision-making. A varied intellectual diet strengthens the ability to approach challenges from multiple angles, producing solutions that are both effective and inventive. The habit of application amplifies accountability. Tracking actions taken based on reading transforms abstract ideas into measurable efforts. Journaling experiments, noting adjustments, and recording outcomes creates evidence of growth and highlights lessons for refinement. Documentation encourages responsibility for learning, ensuring that knowledge is not passively consumed, but actively translated into tangible progress. Accountability enhances motivation, reinforces discipline, and accelerates improvement through structured feedback. Emotional engagement strengthens learning. Ideas that provoke curiosity, challenge assumptions, or inspire action are retained more effectively. Seek material that resonates on an intellectual and emotional level, creating investment that drives application. When reading stimulates both thought and feeling, implementation becomes more natural, insightful, and sustained. The integration of emotion and cognition produces a deeper connection to knowledge, increasing both retention and impact. Application transforms reading into strategy. The act of translating theory into action involves experimentation, decision-making, and prioritization. Identify high-leverage opportunities to implement lessons immediately. Small adjustments in approach, mindset, or execution based on insights from reading create tangible improvements. These micro-actions, when consistently executed, accumulate into substantial transformation over time. Knowledge becomes a tool for intentional, measurable advancement rather than passive understanding. Feedback enhances the cycle of reading and applying. Observe the outcomes of implemented ideas critically, adjust strategies, refine understanding, and iterate on methods. Feedback loops accelerate learning by converting experience into refined skill. Combining insights from books with real-world testing produces adaptive expertise, allowing knowledge to evolve into practical mastery. The iterative process ensures that reading is not a static accumulation of information but a dynamic engine for growth. Collaboration magnifies learning impact. Discussing insights with peers, mentors, or teams allows alternative interpretations, deeper analysis, and practical advice on implementation. Collaboration exposes blind spots, highlights unseen opportunities, and accelerates the conversion of knowledge into action. Engaging others reinforces understanding, encourages accountability, and enhances the practical applicability of lessons, producing outcomes that surpass solitary effort. Consistency is key. Daily engagement, even in small increments, creates compounding effects. Each reading session builds upon the last, accumulating insight, mental agility, and practical wisdom. Daily application ensures that lessons are not lost to neglect or memory decay. Regular practice turns concepts into habits, intuition, and instinctive decision-making. The cumulative effect produces accelerated growth, transforming learning from a passive activity into a force for continuous improvement. Critical evaluation refines application. Not all knowledge is equally valid, applicable, or effective. Assess insights for relevance, reliability, and alignment with goals. Adapt strategies thoughtfully, testing assumptions and modifying approaches based on results. Discernment ensures that effort is focused on what produces meaningful outcomes, rather than implementing ideas indiscriminately. Intelligent evaluation transforms reading into strategic advantage, maximizing return on intellectual investment. Long-term perspective enhances value. Reading and application are not isolated events, but components of an ongoing process. Track growth over weeks, months, and years, noting cumulative impact. Recognize that small, consistent efforts compound, producing transformative results over time. Maintaining a long-term orientation ensures persistence, patience, and sustained engagement, transforming knowledge into enduring capability. Reading daily and applying new knowledge is a practice that transforms potential into achievement. It bridges theory and execution, cultivating skill, insight, and strategic judgment. Each session provides raw material, each application converts it into capability, and each reflection refines understanding for future action. Over time, this disciplined approach produces exponential growth, turning curiosity into expertise, information into action, and effort into measurable, compounding results. Knowledge becomes not merely understanding, but the engine of continual improvement. By embedding daily reading and application into life, growth becomes systematic, rather than accidental, Insight fuels action, action generates results, and reflection informs the next step. Each day becomes a deliberate opportunity to enhance skill, sharpen judgment, and expand understanding. Knowledge is transformed into capability, habits reinforce learning, and consistent practice produces momentum that compounds over time. Reading is no longer passive. It becomes a strategic lever, amplifying both performance and potential, ensuring that every day is a step forward in mastery, understanding, and purposeful growth. Number 10. Celebrate small wins. Stay motivated. Progress is a journey made up of countless small steps, each contributing to the larger path of achievement. Too often, people wait for monumental milestones to acknowledge their efforts, overlooking the compounding power of small wins. Celebrating these incremental achievements is not about indulgence or vanity. It is about recognition, reinforcement, and motivation. Each small success provides feedback that validates effort, signals progress, and energizes the mind and body to continue striving. By cultivating the habit of acknowledging and honoring minor victories, momentum becomes tangible, sustaining perseverance when the broader goal seems distant or overwhelming. The process begins with awareness. Small wins are easily overlooked if attention is only paid to the end result. Learning to identify progress, even in subtle forms, reframes perception. Finishing a difficult task, improving a skill, completing a portion of a larger project, or maintaining a disciplined habit are all achievements worth noting. Awareness of these moments creates a feedback loop that reinforces the value of consistent effort, teaching the mind to recognize effort as meaningful even when immediate rewards are modest. Reflection enhances celebration. Pause to consider the challenges overcome, decisions made, and actions taken that contributed to success. Reflecting on how effort led to results transforms fleeting accomplishment into a conscious acknowledgement of capability. Understanding the factors behind each win strengthens self-efficacy, instills confidence, and increases resilience for future challenges. Reflection converts external progress into internal growth, ensuring that small victories contribute to both skill development and mindset fortification. Reinforcement solidifies behavior. Celebrating a small win is a form of positive reinforcement that encourages repetition of effective actions. The human brain responds to acknowledgement, dopamine release, and recognition of effort, which motivates continued action. This reinforcement mechanism ensures that productive behaviors become habitual, creating a compounding effect over time. Small celebrations act as catalysts, accelerating the formation of habits that support long-term success and mastery. Deliberate recognition is important. The celebration need not be extravagant but should be meaningful and intentional. A brief pause, verbal acknowledgement, journaling, or sharing progress with a trusted peer or mentor can serve as effective recognition. The key is consistency and mindfulness. Celebration should be a deliberate act that reinforces achievement rather than a casual afterthought. The more consciously wins are acknowledged, the stronger the motivational impact becomes. Connecting small wins to long-term goals reinforces purpose. Each minor achievement represents a building block toward broader objectives. Visualizing how incremental progress contributes to larger ambitions enhances motivation and focus. By mapping small wins onto the trajectory of overarching goals, effort is contextualized, meaning is reinforced, and perseverance becomes more sustainable. Every step taken gains significance when tied to a vision, transforming routine actions into purposeful advancement. Motivation is sustained through variety and recognition. Celebrating achievements in multiple ways, reflective journaling, sharing with peers, brief personal rewards, or symbolic rituals creates a rich motivational ecosystem. Repetition of recognition methods alone can lose impact, but varying how wins are acknowledged maintains engagement and strengthens emotional reinforcement. Diverse forms of celebration cater to both cognitive and emotional systems, deepening the psychological imprint of accomplishment. Gratitude amplifies the effect of small wins, appreciating not only the outcome but the effort, learning, and growth involved, fosters positive emotion and resilience. Gratitude shifts attention from what is lacking to what has been gained, reinforcing a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. This mental framing increases motivation, reduces discouragement, and strengthens commitment to ongoing effort. Gratitude and recognition together create a powerful emotional feedback loop that drives continuous improvement. Tracking progress makes wins visible. Recording achievements, milestones, and improvements provides tangible evidence of advancement over time. Journals, logs, or visual charts reinforce the perception of growth, making incremental progress clear even when the overall goal remains distant. Tangible records of achievement maintain motivation, allow reflection, and provide reference points for strategic adjustments. Seeing accumulated progress transforms perception of effort from abstract to concrete, validating persistence and reinforcing the habit of continued action. Resilience is reinforced through celebration. Small wins act as psychological anchors during periods of difficulty or stagnation. Recalling prior successes reminds the mind of capability, increases confidence, and buffers against discouragement. When setbacks occur, recognition of incremental achievements preserves momentum, reduces the impact of obstacles, and sustains belief in eventual success. Celebrated wins provide a stable foundation for mental endurance, ensuring that progress is resilient against setbacks and external pressures. Application of lessons strengthens impact. Each small success contains insight about effective behavior, decision-making, or strategy. By analyzing what led to achievement and applying those lessons to subsequent efforts, wins become more than transient victories. They become guides for consistent improvement. This process transforms experience into knowledge and knowledge into refined skill, producing a cycle in which each small success compounds into larger competence and capability. Sharing wins enhances accountability. Communicating progress to mentors, peers, or teams introduces external reinforcement and social validation. Sharing accomplishments strengthens connections, invites encouragement, and enhances commitment to continued action. Accountability increases the likelihood of consistent behavior, while recognition from others amplifies motivational and emotional impact. The social dimension of celebrating small wins ensures that achievement is acknowledged both internally and externally, reinforcing momentum. Balance is crucial. Celebration should not lead to complacency or distraction from the next goal. Recognition must coexist with forward focus, ensuring that energy is preserved for ongoing effort. The interplay between acknowledgement and anticipation maintains momentum, preventing stagnation while sustaining motivation. Celebrate fully, but use the recognition as fuel rather than a pause from purposeful action. Each win is both a reward and a stepping stone. Visualization of progress magnifies motivation. Mentally reviewing wins, considering challenges overcome, and imagining future achievements strengthens commitment and reinforces confidence. Visualization creates a cognitive map of capability, making progress visible even when physical outcomes are not immediately apparent. This mental rehearsal enhances clarity, encourages perseverance, and primes the mind for continued action. The process of visualizing past and future victories reinforces the psychological impact of small wins. Emotional connection reinforces consistency. Celebrating wins cultivates positive emotion, excitement, and satisfaction, which drive repeated behavior. Motivation is not solely rational, it is deeply emotional. Acknowledging effort, skill, and achievement evokes pride, joy, and determination, sustaining engagement with tasks and goals over time. Emotionally reinforced behaviors are more resilient, habitual, and likely to compound into larger success. Iteration creates compounding growth. Each small win informs subsequent action, contributing to an evolving cycle of improvement. Reflection, recognition, and planning based on achievements create a feedback loop that strengthens competence and accelerates progress. Momentum builds not from isolated bursts, but from consistent recognition and strategic continuation, producing a cumulative effect that magnifies long-term results. Mindset is transformed through celebration. Consistent acknowledgement of small victories fosters an internal narrative of capability, progress, and agency. This mindset encourages proactive behavior, reduces fear of failure, and strengthens perseverance. Individuals learn to value incremental progress, focus on effort over external validation, and derive motivation from internal recognition of competence. The psychological impact of small wins shapes a durable foundation for ongoing growth and achievement. Ultimately, celebrating small wins is a strategic practice that fuels continuous progress. Recognition reinforces behavior, motivates effort, strengthens resilience, and compounds achievement over time. By acknowledging incremental victories, analyzing their significance, and integrating lessons learned, each success becomes both an emotional reward and a practical tool for forward momentum. Celebrated wins transform the journey of improvement into a sustainable, self-reinforcing system of growth, ensuring that motivation remains high, effort remains consistent, and progress becomes inevitable. By intentionally cultivating the habit of celebrating small victories, the path to mastery is illuminated daily. Wins no longer remain fleeting, but become milestones, marking advancement, competence, and growth. Recognition, reflection, and application intertwine to create momentum, resilience, and motivation. Small wins provide clarity, confidence, and energy, ensuring that each day contributes meaningfully to long-term achievement. Through disciplined acknowledgement of incremental progress, motivation is sustained, obstacles are navigated with perseverance, and the journey toward excellence becomes both tangible and unstoppable.